Alright, so a few months ago, my watch stopped functioning, and when I took it to the shop, they said it was damaged beyond repair. So I thought I would make a teardown and show you guys how it all worked from the inside. So this is Techscope, the fourth episode, brought to you by SR Scope, and today we're going to take a look inside this G-Shock watch to see how it all works. So I had to take out the rubber bands first, the wristbands. So there were 4 screws holding them in place, and I took them out pretty easy. Once it was done, we could take out the rubber wristbands, and we are left with the chassis and the watch face itself. The frame of the chassis is made from metal, since we can see it glinting. Since I'm not going to use this watch in the future, I'm not worried about scratching it. So you could see that it is indeed made from metal, so it's not some kind of cheap plastic watch. You can see the glint over there of the metal. Okay, so most watches are protected by a plastic film on top, and since it is film, it is very vulnerable to scratches. However, in some premium models, underneath this film, we have a premium glass material which is resilient to scratches. However, they break easily, and if it is made from plastic, it doesn't break easily, but it is vulnerable to scratches, which is why this film is very important. However, in this case, we're going to test out whether this is really a glass watch or a plastic watch. And instantly with the scratches, we already know that this is a plastic, because if this was glass, the knife wouldn't be able to scratch it. So the screws on the side are insignificant. We only need to take out the 4 screws holding the back plate back. And it was a fairly easy task for my Phillips head screwdriver. Once all 4 screws are out, we can see that the back plate is made from stainless steel, which is already advertised, and at its back there is a plastic contact pad which prevents electric currents from passing through the plate, which is why it is labeled as shock resistant. This prevents any shock from traveling through the plate into your hand. There are 6 screws holding the circuit board together, so without wasting any time, I got on with it. After taking out all 6 screws, we were able to take out the battery holder, and then we got the battery itself, a 3-volt battery made by Sony, labeled as 3-volt lithium. Took out 1 remaining screw, and the plastic frame could be lifted from the circuit board. This plastic frame keeps everything inside from moving and holds everything in place, and this is the circuit board that runs the digital part of the watch, the digital panel. We can see that there are capacitors, transistors, and even the ringers for the alarm noises, the buzzers. It's a pretty complicated setup, but I've seen more complicated setups in my life. This is the battery placement. And once I took it out, I found that there were some components falling out, rectangular, and I thought these were the reason the watch wasn't working. However, they were made from rubber and they were meant to keep everything in place from moving. So obviously that couldn't be the reason why the watch wasn't working. So I got on with getting deeper inside. Now, the strange thing about this is the motor was actually working. However, the arms were not working, as you would be able to hear from this clip. You could hear the tick-tock of the watch. However, once again, the arms are not going around. So I'm assuming that the arms have somehow become loose in place. Over here you can see the winding gear, which is used to adjust the arms. This gear manipulates a few other set of gears inside, which eventually turns the arms around, as you can see here. So I tried to pop off the winding gear before taking out the plastic frame, and my camera stopped recording here due to less storage, and by the time I got it running, I was already done. So instead of ending the video here, I thought I would reverse the whole process and film the whole thing to show you how it is put back together. And I tightened the arms to make the arms work properly, although I'm still worried that it is not very accurate and therefore it is still unreliable for looking at the time, as you can see here. So yeah, it is pretty much useless as a watch, so we shall use it for educational purposes. I put it back in the chassis. I put on the winding gear, made sure it worked. And then I put a rubber ring. This rubber ring is what protects it from water. It is why it is water resistant. It protects water from entering inside and damaging the components. Without this ring, your watch will be vulnerable to water damage. So I popped in the contact pads. These are the pads that connect the buttons to the digital frame, the mode, the stopwatch and everything, but in this case it is pretty much useless because the display itself is not working anymore. I popped on the circuit board, the plastic frame, the battery, and the battery holder, which was quite tricky, so I decided to take off the rubber ring and screw them all together first. And once it was done, I put on the rubber ring back. So I put on the back plate, screw back the 4 Phillips head screws. Tightened them all back up. I had to make sure it was extremely tight so that water cannot enter in if there was any water damage, in order to preserve that water resistance. And there you have it. It is done. So that's all for today. Thank you.